What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Another loss, another week of people upset at Aaron Glenn. Kind of want to talk about the latest Aaron Glenn criticism and how we are reaching a new low, it feels like. Just wanted to talk through this. So, all right, let's go back to yesterday. Jets lose a heartbreaker 29-27 on the road in Tampa Bay. They played okay at the beginning of the game. Then they played like dog water for the middle portions of the game. And then they turned it on at the end. Ended up being too little too late. Yes, they had a lead. Defense can't get off the field. That's a problem for another day. We talked a lot about Steve Wilkes last week. It's probably going to be a conversation again this week. But Jets lose 29-27. So full story. After the game, I do my post-game coverage like I always do. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I also cover the New York Islanders for the Up the Turnpike YouTube channel that I run with my buddy Mitch. So I was getting ready to cover their first preseason game at 7 o'clock. So Jets 1-4, do the post-game stuff, do some clips. It's like 6, go down, watch some Red Zone, have Red Zone on in the background, and the Sunday night game on in the background as I am getting ready to cover this game. So I'm keeping up with the NFL, but the focus has shifted to another game that I have to cover. And okay, fine, right? Like while I was live tweeting the game, I noticed that it seemed like people were pissed at Glenn. So I made a mental note and I was trying to figure out why, but I said, all right, I'll go back to this tomorrow morning when I have more time and just take a look at let's try to figure out the reason why the New York Jets fans or some of the Jets fans are upset with Aaron Glenn. And my discovery is it's a pretty freaking dumb reason. There's a few things. We'll give the full context of every part of this, I guess. But first, we got to start Will McDonald blocked field goal attempt. So Bucks were setting up for a field goal that would have put the game out of reach, would have put them up 9 with under 2 minutes to play. Jets would have had to go down the field and score a touchdown and then recover an onside kick. And, a lot would have had to break right. But instead, Will McDonald blocks a field goal attempt. They return it for a touchdown and gives the Jets the lead. There's video of Aaron Glenn when this play happens, getting pumped up, running down the sideline, does a little celebration at the end, obviously pumped up for a big play from his team. I think while, yes, you're going to have some fans say, well, I knew there was too much time and they're going to go down the field and score. Do you not have a pulse in your body if you didn't jump up out of your seat after a big play like that, though? You might have had the realization after the score. I made a mental note to take a look at the time after Will McDonald got in the end zone. But if you can't react to your team making a big play, that you might be dead inside. Like there's no other. You might just not have a soul, or you might not. I don't know what the deal is, but something might be wrong with you. You might need to get checked by your doctor. But weren't we upset with Robert Saleh for not showing emotion on the sideline? And now we're upset because Aaron Glenn shows emotion on the sideline in a big spot for his team when he's trying to get his first win as an NFL head coach, an emotional moment for any first-time head coach. Well, no, Matt, we were talking about in the bad moments, how Robert Saleh would just, stand there, blank stare on the sideline. Oh, okay. So you mean like when Arian Smith made a mistake and Aaron Glenn went ballistic on him on the sideline? That must count then to fit that bill, right? That's a big change. That's something that, is different. Well, no. He clapped after the game now. It's not he celebrated on the sideline after a big play. It's not that he ripped Arian Smith on the sideline. It's that he clapped after the game. We're looking at a 1-second clip. The clip is literally 1 second. You can't really edit it down any more than this. The clip that is circulating is 1 second. Is there any context to what he clapped at? Was he asked after the game what he was clapping for? We're writing fan fiction like the guy is clapping for Steve Wilkes, giving him a standing ovation after the defense went down or let the Bucks go down the field and score. This is something we don't know. We have no idea. This is like the same people who flip out because Francisco Lindor smiles in a game the Jets are losing and say, oh, he's not a leader. He smiled. He cracked a smile on second base after he stole second base. They're down 3-1. It's stupid. This is stupidity. Mouth breathers. Get this shit together, man. Like, what? We are creating these narratives in our head for just no reason. Well, it must be the moral victories then. It's Aaron Glenn talking about moral victories.
A number of things that we got to correct. And I'm going to say this again. There's no such thing as moral victories when it comes to us. And we're not the same team. We're not the same team at all. And I'm looking forward, to our next challenge.
Think you know football? Then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. All you have to do, download the app, pick more or less on your favorite players. With more stats than any other daily fantasy app, just choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame, or you could do it live even during the game. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. Use code O'Leary, and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for detail. Direct quote. No moral victories. We have a lot to work on. Did he talk about some of the positive things that they did in this game? Yeah, and look, that's going to bother some of the fans who are really down and upset that this team is 0-3. But I feel like it's the same people who are like, no, I didn't want Aaron Glenn to be a head coach. And then when they hire Aaron Glenn and they move on from Aaron Rodgers, it's, the team's going to stink this year. And then when they start 0-3, the reaction is vastly different. Like the expectation was to win 10 games and we're disappointed because they started 0-3. I thought the Jets would start 1-2. I predicted them to win 7 games before the season. I thought they'd start 1-2. They are at 1-2 right now. I thought they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They didn't. They probably should have, but they didn't. They're 0-3. But is it like this outlandish, crazy, oh my God, I can't believe it, the Jets started 0-3? No. Of course there was a world where the Jets could have started this season 0-3. Now, I didn't think the first game would go the way that it did, where they score a shitload of points. And the defenses in both games stunk. The Steelers are a good defense. Before the season, I thought, okay, like first game, Justin Fields as your starter, first time play caller. It might take a few weeks. So they lose that game, which I know the Steelers won, but their offense doesn't look good. Aaron Rodgers threw for like 139 yards, but the defense had 5 turnovers against the Patriots, and they won, what was it, 21-14, 21-7, something like that. They lost to the Buffalo Bills. They got blown out. Didn't look good against Buffalo. And then they lost to Tampa Bay, a team that is in the playoffs every year. They've won 3 straight games. In all 3 games, it's been Baker Mayfield comeback drives in the final minute. That's what he does. He's got to tip your cap. He's an incredibly clutch quarterback, a gamer, the whole thing. This is the toughest part of their schedule, which again goes back to a point that I made last week, that can we wait to evaluate? Can we do the Aaron Glenn discourse at the end of the season, not week by week? If we're going to do this every single week, this is going to be a really long season. It's going to be incredibly hard to cover this team every single week. If on the good weeks, we're going to be flying high on Aaron Glenn. On the bad weeks, it's going to be this guy sucks. You got to fire him. There's people in my comments saying fire Aaron Glenn. Need a new quarterback and a new coach for next year. It's 3 games. They have 5 more games before their bye week. They have Miami, who's 0-3. Yeah, they gave Buffalo a better fight than the Jets. That's true. They gave them their best game and still lost because their quarterback made a brutal mistake, which he has been prone to do this year. Turning the ball over has been a major issue for them. They have Dallas, who got the doors blown off by the Chicago Bears, who also stink. And their defense is an abomination. Russell Wilson was turning back the clock to 2012 when they played him in week 2. Then you have Denver. They're 1-2. I was down on them going into this year. I had them on the outside looking into the playoffs, and who knows, maybe they get that right. That's a tough game. They're really good defense on the road in London. That's a tough one. No doubt that's a tough one. And you have Carolina, and then you have, before the bye, a Cincinnati team without Joe Burrow, who got absolutely worked by the Minnesota Vikings and Carson fucking Wentz in 2025. We're not talking 2017 Carson Wentz. We're not talking 2018 Carson Wentz. We're talking 2025 Carson Wentz. That's their next 5 games. Is there a world where you win 3 of your next 5 games and you go into the bye week at 3-5, and then outside of that, really your toughest game in the second half is against Baltimore? Like, there's still a way that the Jets could salvage this season. Not to the point where I'm saying, like, they're going to be 9-8 and make the playoffs. They're going to be 10-7 and prove everyone wrong. No. But can they stack some wins, and then maybe by the end of the year, we get to week 18, it's like, hey, the Jets finished like 7-10 after starting 0-3. That's something to build on. Or in that point, the Jets finished their final 14 games 7-7. Okay, there's something to build on going into next year. You know, they started rough. They had a rough start to the season, but they finished strong. Everyone points to the Detroit Lions when they make the comparisons with this Jets team because they hire Aaron Glenn. And Dan Campbell stunk his first year. They were 3-13-1. I don't think the Jets are going 3-13-1, by the way. I guess they could, but they weren't very good that first year. And the second year, which I think is the more appropriate comparison because the talent deficiency that Detroit had in 2021 versus what they had in 2022, started like 1-6, and then they end up finishing that year 9-8. They go 8-2 of their final 10. I don't think the Jets are going 8-2, but I'm talking about a similar trajectory where it starts slow. It takes time to build game over game, week over week. And then you get to a point where, okay, again, like I said, maybe you go 7-7 over your final 14 games because the schedule lightens up and you start to figure some shit out. But we're talking 3 games into a year one of a regime. I don't understand some of the outrage. Again, it's frustrating. I'm bummed the Jets are 0-3. I am truly bummed. But most people were picking the Jets to win 6, 7, maybe 8 games. We had some optimists saying 9 or 10, and we had some pessimists saying like 4, which is fine. But if Vegas had the over-under at 5.5, and they play like a team that's a 5 or 6 win team, I feel like I'm making the same argument as I did a week ago. Where's the shock? That's how this year was supposed to go. It's a transition year. It's year one of a regime. We have to see improvement as the year goes on. If the defense still looks the same way that it does in week 3, in week 18, I'm going to be talking about how there's a problem. If Glenn is making some of the same mistakes that he's making early in the year, at the end of the year, it's going to be a problem. But we have to look at this year as an evaluation year. And we can't do the evaluation week after week after week. We're going to tire ourselves out. It's stupid. Use the whole season as an evaluation year. And, like, I don't know. If you didn't want Aaron Glenn, I get it, but he's here. Let's use our brains and give it a full year of the evaluation before we got to fire Aaron Glenn. He clapped on the sideline after a loss. I mean, God almighty. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out for another video. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.